All right, I'd like to call to order the special meeting to review the budgets of the road and bridge fund
General fund.
and the general fund.
Second. What am I doing? Second?
Yeah,
She's going to call the roll.
Okay, great.
Mr. Crandall is absent. Mahoney?
Here.
Gentlemen?
Here.
Mr. Simcoe is absent.
All right, I'm going to say a few words to start out with, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Beck for his last hearing.
Hopefully.
We're going to start with the general fund. The good news that in the general fund, for our revenue, for our revenue projections from the beginning of the year till now are actually more than we expected. And on our expense side, our expenditures are less than originally budgeted. So we have more revenue than we thought originally budgeted, and we have less expenses. So between that combination, I think we're in good shape for this year, and it takes us out to future years. With that, I'll let Jim talk about the individual revenue items. Once again, anytime you have a question, feel free to stop and we'll answer it.
You have the big sheets. It says general fund on front of it there. Okay, in the darker column, 2015 proposed. The real estate taxes and the homestead and rollback taxes are numbers that I received from the auditor's office. As you can tell, sometimes they're under, sometimes they're over. So this past year, we've collected about what they said. As we go down through there, the cable system franchise fees have been pretty consistent, around $440,000 every year. Through 2013, we collected $437, but this year it looks like we're going to collect about $442, so right in the middle. Water tap fees, I wish I could had a crystal ball that we're going to have a lot of new subdivisions and they're going to tap water in it, but so I try to budget low on that. I think we'll collect at least that. But as you can see, so far this year, we've done quite well on that particular line item. The column to the left of the bold numbers are the ones what I expect are going to collect this year. Fines and fees, pretty consistent. Again, inheritance tax, as you know, they did away with that a couple years ago, but we did get some this year, even though we didn't budget anything. And it's possible we'll get some in 2015. I don't anticipate much, if any, but you're liable to get some because it takes sometimes that long to finish out the estate. Local government, that's the number that we've been receiving for the last 3 years, so we've been pretty consistent there. Liquor permit fees are about the same. Cigarette fees, 2013 we collected $940, and that's the first time we've collected over $20 since I've been here. So don't ask me why. The TIF, if you go down, the tax incentive financing, that bounces around, and John asked me to make sure that raise that up to a higher number this year. That's an in and out type thing. We bring it in as revenue, and you can see down here further I've got the expense for the same amount. Interest, again, I do that low. I don't know. Who knows? If you can tell me what the interest rates are going to do in the next year, I don't know.
They're going up. I just
Are
came
they?
from a meeting. I don't know.
All right.
That's what my company said.
Other expenses, $10,000, pretty consistent. And then the zoning permits, we've been running that again about $35,000. This year we're doing pretty good. So on that. So again, one of my philosophies on budgeting is always to do your revenue at the lower end of what you think it's going to be, and try to do your expenses at the higher end. So, go from there. As you go down through there, I've taken the general fund and we break it into several sections. The first section is elected officials and items that under elected, and of course the trustees' salaries and the clerk's salary, and then the associated expenses with that. Those salaries are down through there. We can go past that, and you're going to run into things like state auditors, examination, audit fees, audit and treasurer's fees. These are the fees that we pay the auditors, Lucas County Auditor's Office, to collect our property taxes. And I've yelled at them for every year I've been here about that fee. That's a lot of money to pay them. Election expense. I will be paying for this past election expense next year, or somebody will be paying for it next year. So that's why that money's in there. Land reutilization is something the treasurer's office passed, Lucas County passed here a couple years ago. Travel and other expenses is about the same. Dues and subscriptions, the same. General health district. I haven't heard what's going to be charged to the township for that, but that's consistent with what we've paid the last 3 years. I didn't attend. Did you attend the budget hearings down there, John?
Yes.
Okay. Did they say what the health department was going to get?
No, not at that time.
Okay.
If I had to say, I'd say it'd be the same.
Well, that's about what I'm.
Yeah.
Okay. I did put money in there for gypsy moth spraying. Again, we haven't spent that money in the last 2-3 years, but we put it in there just in case we have to use it. Let's see, emergency management is what we pay to the county. Registration, here's the tax incentive, the money that we, contradicts the revenue. And then funding and donations. If you look on the last page, I think I put down there, it's actually page 6 of 6, what we spent so far this year. The bottom, right at the bottom there, we spent $16.5. But we have spent as much as $30,000, so that's why I put it back in there. That's up to you guys to decide whether you want to spend that kind of money or not. So, and then contracts, we've raised that up to $42,000 for this next year.
What did you have the contributions for this year budgeted at?
$30,000.
You did?
Yes. If you look at the beginning budget, the second column,
Yeah.
that'll give you the beginning budget for this year.
Okay.
Okay. The next section is administration. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. My assumption on the wages, and I think I put it at the bottom of the last sheet, but I've put wages at for 2015 at a 2.75 increase, and that's consistent with the two contracts that have been negotiated for 2015 and 16. Yeah, and then the health insurance is the actual numbers for 2015 because we've settled that. We've decided on that. That's right. They passed that last meeting, didn't they? So that's in the budget already. So for 2016 through 2021, I've increased those numbers 5%. To give you dental insurance is the actual number that we're going to charge for 2015 is in the budget, and then 5% for increases for that. Property taxes, I've increased it 0.5% for 2016 or 15 through 2021.
Can you back up a second on that
Sure.
insurance? You said you put a 5% in, but when you look at the line item, what we anticipate spending this year is 67,000, you're lowering it to 58. Am I not tracking something here?
You're talking about elected officials?
Right.
Okay, I'm looking at the numbers that we actually put in, that people were claiming, in other words, family or two-party or whatever.
Okay, so the estimated 2014 column isn't really up to date then.
Well, I didn't know at the time. We didn't change the number, so we've had something, and people change their, so I just took that sheet that you give me as to whether they're single, two-party, or family.
And then the incentive that we're doing, is that coming out of the wellness fund, or is that going to come out of the health
The
insurance fund?
incentive you're talking about, it's going to the.
Like if we're going to put something into an HSA.
No, that comes out of the wellness fund, the internal service fund. I mean, I couldn't tell you, Susan, who's going to take that HSA, so I
right.
couldn't really budget that in there. I mean, we may have 6, 10, 15, 20 people, but I couldn't tell you who. So, going to the administration, again, there's increases down through there. The salary, support staff, longevity. We've got a little money in there for overtime, and then the associated cost to those salaries. Starting at legal counsel, we've budgeted. I did give, and I don't know what it's going to be, but I increased the budget for our contract with the prosecutor's office. I took what we got this year and put up an increase there. So,
And divided between the three.
and then I divided it. It's oh dear, I didn't put it on the bottom of this, but it's on the bottom of the road and bridge.
Well, whatever the amount is.
Yeah,
divided by three.
it's
Each fund pays
each
one-third
fund,
of the cost.
right. Well, they don't pay. The general fund actually pays more,
Right.
because the administration and the zoning pay the biggest chunk. I think it's like 24% each. And then the road pays a smaller amount, and then the police and fire each pay the same. So, okay, continuing on, we got the training, $1,200. I don't think we're not gonna spend that this year, but that's what we budgeted last year. Pretty much the same. You go down through here, and I budget about the same. She actually lowered the insurance liability because that didn't come in nearly as much last year as we thought. I don't think I've increased anything. I did increase the image silo. That's the where we pay for the monthly fee to store stuff. And as we put more and more on there, our cost per unit goes up. It's going to cost more. So it doesn't cost more per unit, but the total is going to be a little bit more.
And we use Iron Mountain for that?
We use a place called Image Silo.
That's the actual, okay.
Yeah, they're located in Denver with their backup facility is in Kansas City. And I've actually, before I came here, I actually visited that site in Denver, and it's in a warehouse district. And if you've seen the outside of the building, you'd say, "Oh my gosh, what is this?" It was tattered and horrible looking. But when you walk in that door, it's like night and day. I mean, it's dust-free and just racks and racks of computers. And it's just really kind of a neat place. So, fiscal, we've got the salaries. Now, there's not a whole lot of change because I did budget my payoff and stuff in there, so it's it's pretty close. Where you're going to see a big change is next year, in 2016. Again, you got the longevity and all the associated cost with that. Just training, again, I don't think I raised items from last year at all. And again, we try to look at the maximum amount that we should spend. Okay, and most of the time we do a pretty good job at that. So, any questions on any of the line items so far? Okay. Next section is town hall. This is where we pay the repairs on our building. We pay the utilities out of this particular section. Phone services, waste pickup, and maintenance supplies, for this particular building, and actually lowered a couple items there. The last section is zoning, and again, we've got the salaries. We still got the full-time, one full-time person, one part-time, associated labor cost. Board compensation. Now, we're not going to spend that kind of money this year, and we probably never have, but that includes every board member making every meeting, 12 meetings a year, and paying for that. So, and those particular people are on our payroll now. So, they're paid once a year, and they're paid through our payroll system. So,
And that was a requirement.
that was a requirement, correct. And again, we have the legal counsel, training, computer services. As I go down through here, I don't see, raised office supplies, $20. That was pretty consistent, so over last year's budget. So.
Now, why is legal counsel in at $27,000 again?
Because
Assuming the other divisions, right? Divided by
right.
4.
General counsel or administration and zoning pay the biggest portions of the contract.
What is our contract for these days?
About
99.
98.
Yeah, I think it's. I think I put in there $99,500.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we occasionally will use an attorney outside of the prosecutor's office that I build a few bucks in there, so not much more. But and then the last section in here is, of course, we have transfers in, and this is our allocated cost. This is the money that we charge the other funds, the other departments for doing their payroll, for doing their accounting, for doing the administration, those types of items. Okay, we have a set dollar figure that we charge per employee, and it's been the same since I've been here. So, the transfer outs is we're planning on transferring $300,000 to the road and bridge, $10,000 to the cemetery. The senior debt fund this next year is $87,717.50, and we're projecting or proposing that we send $25,000 to the general capital projects and $13,000 when George does our maintenance here and does this building. He's actually paid out of the road and bridge fund. But he does work at the police department. He does work here. So we charge, this is the money to reimburse the road fund for the general fund. The police fund will have an amount too. He spends a lot of time over at the police. There was another small sheet to go along with what we're proposing for the capital projects. It's a little small sheet like this, and it says general government on it. And for 2015, we're talking about resurfacing the parking lot out here and resurfacing cemetery driveway. Those would come out of general projects. And these, again, are just, they're proposed. So if we put them in the budget, and if we're going to do it, they would come before this board, for approval. Do you have any questions?
No.
I'm
No
good.
questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
The next step will be Greg,
Well done, James.
with the Road and Bridge Fund, and once again, I'm going to give the same speech. The Road and Bridge Fund, for their revenue, is more than we originally budgeted for the year 2014, and the Road and Bridge's expenses are less than what we originally budgeted, or projected to be less than we originally budgeted. So once again, our revenue's up and our expenses are down, and I think that's give credit to Greg, and I'll let him take over, and Jim and Greg can then do the Road and Bridge Fund.
Jim, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Basically, the Road and Bridge Fund doesn't have a whole lot of revenue items. It's property taxes. And that comes from the auditor's office. We had two line items. There's stormwater utility projects in-house. There's actually two there. One, they're paid two different ways. And one of them is if it's done by a contractor, and another one is if it's done in-house. Okay, so this year we've done $84,000, almost $85,000 worth of stormwater projects, but I can't tell you if that's going to happen next year. So I can't budget revenue if it's not going to happen. Now, Greg may have a better idea of that right now, but when we did this, we didn't have any idea what we're going to do next year. So, if you know.
We have two projects scheduled on the back page, the last page shaded in blue. Villa Drive storm sewer and Huntington Road storm sewer. Villa Drive is actually a storm sewer extension. We'd like to extend the storm sewer down and capture some more water and do some good stuff there. Huntington Road storm sewer is basically a ditch enclosure where we're starting to lose the shoulder of the roadway, things along that line. That's what we have for in-house, and our crews are fully capable of performing this. And again, throughout the year, if we get log jam removal tasks, something along that line, then we'll approach accordingly. And as you know, the biggie's coming up for the 10 Mile Creek clean out. So that's
And when Greg says in-house, we do the work, and then the stormwater utility pays us
correct.
for that work.
Yeah.
So that's where we get some of the
So
money.
I can put $59,000 worth of revenue there, is what you're telling me.
As of right now, those are the only two projects I'm aware of. But as we are tasked with other,
Yeah.
throughout the year.
Okay. Because all I can say is we didn't budget anything last year, and this year we took in almost like I said, $85,000. So expenditures. I don't know if you want me to talk.
Sure. Almost towards the bottom section here, these are half a dozen just items I'd just like to touch base. The equipment repairs and maintenance, and then vehicle maintenance and repairs. Basically, equipment repairs deals with backhoes, air compressors, where the vehicles are actual trucks, wheeled items. We just want to make sure that that's enough money to get us through the year. I'm confident in saying that we experienced some equipment repairs because of the winter last year. There's no doubt in my mind. So that's an item that between Rob, Gary, and I, we want to monitor that. On the second page, the rental of tools and equipment. As we go through our some of these projects, we may need to rent excavators, things along this line. So I'm looking at some of the 5-digit numbers here. The gasoline and fuel, we're fully tracking our gas and fuel now. I feel good there, and that's a variable itself. Further down, and this is probably the most important item that I'm concerned about with the next 90 days, is our salt. So no revisiting this sore subject, $105 a ton. So again, then we have our commitments with our OPWC, our local share, in 2015. On the back page, we've blocked off some detailed information for your review. We were lucky enough, again, to get basically a 1/3 grant, 32%, then 68% will be local share, and those are the numbers there, and the streets and subdivisions accordingly for 2015. In a quick summary, those are my comments about the 2015 budget.
So this looks pretty good too, as far as looking out past 2021.
Yes.
Greg, not to get specific, but you might want to, since it's a large object, we canceled the award for the
Tobacco?
backhoe.
Yes.
They have a list of, we did a list of all the,
That's on the short page.
we have
again,
a
so
list of the equipment.
we'll reintroduce that 2015.
I don't know if I missed something here, but where's the line item for the salt for last year?
It's under materials. Our salt was paid under the materials account.
Okay.
We didn't pay it all under there. We paid it some out of 202 or
Correct.
203. Yeah.
That's correct, yes.
We have 3 other funds. They're the small funds. They're the license tax funds. They're not. I have them on a big.
So that's not line item out. Okay, that's all right.
Correct.
I'm just curious.
Looks good.
Sure does.
This last sheet is the capital items, and again, this is just a proposal, but it just gives you a general idea. Just remember that we have these capital equipment funds set up, and every one of our major funds transfer money into these capital equipment funds or capital funds, project funds, and money stays in that particular fund. If they don't spend it, it stays there. It doesn't go anyplace. So if they want to build up a reserve to buy something huge, okay, then they can, or do a major building or whatever. It adds up. So you can see that the Road and Bridge Fund has it's an estimated balance of $636,000 beginning at the beginning of 2015, and we're proposing to put in another $100,000 from this operating fund. Okay, the money comes from here into here, and then those are the items that they're talking about purchasing. And again, these items, if they're going to want to do them or we're going to start to do them, then they bring them before the board for your approval to actually purchase them. But this is in the budget.
Do you think, I don't know your business very well. That's probably not the right thing to say. I don't know your business as well as you know it for sure. So do you think $736,000 seems like a lot of money to have an account just for capital equipment? Is that not a lot, or is that a lot?
I think you can answer that question better than I can, but I can tell you that if you go out and buy 2 trucks, you're going to wipe that baby out in a hurry.
Okay, fair enough.
2 big trucks, with blades and the whole thing. I mean, you may not wipe it out totally, but
Okay.
And as you can see, it's going down over the years. Now, these are, once again, Greg's planned expenditures. If something comes in unplanned, we do have money available. Something happens to something out there.
So like if our salt prices went up more, Can you take it out of this account?
No. This is only capital projects. You can do equipment, you can do buildings, you can do major repairs to buildings. Something happened that he had to do a major repair to
Sure.
a building out there. That's where it would come from. We've passed, there's a rule that says it has to be over $5,000. And it has to be a piece of equipment. Now, like his standard tools, you go out and he buys tools that somebody they might need out there for the mechanics. If it's not over $5,000, he has to buy it out of his tools and equipment line item operating.
Again, I don't know your business as well as you do, but even in 2019, which is 4 years from now, we're still going to have $480,000 in that account.
If nothing goes
Wrong.
wrong.
Okay, you're right. All right, I get
It's
it.
always good to have, you don't lose it, it stays there, and
Right.
we can always adjust it by putting, as you can see, we're putting $100,000 in each year. If we determine we're not spending as much, we don't have to put $100,000 in.
Like we didn't put anything in the fire department last year. Or
Very
we
little.
Put very little.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah,
All right,
very
I get it.
That's your call, how much to put in. But once you put it in, as Jim says, it stays there.
Takes a judge's order to get it out.
And Greg, I think you had a couple things for next year.
As far as perhaps a overview to, as far as policies or such, I'd like to initiate perhaps some discussion later in 2015 about a sidewalk maintenance policy and a policy about parking dumpsters in the street for remodeling projects at residential areas or something. I just see some liabilities that we should discuss.
And one of the things Greg talked about the sidewalk is some of these subdivisions are starting to get older and their sidewalks are crumbling, and we really don't have a policy on when do these sidewalks get replaced.
We rely on the Ohio Revised Code. Sometimes it's vague. In the newer subdivisions, your deed actually spells out property owner responsibility, but there's just, we should look at that. And
Hey, Greg, how about being able to negotiate with the city of Toledo? Just go set a deal with these guys on the water bill, that the city of Toledo water lines that are running out, some of the curb and sidewalk settlements that we've had. You guys went out on our dime to go ahead and put that in, as the city of Toledo would have never gotten that handled. Out of, remember 12 Lakes, I think it was. Is there could you put a plan, or could you find time to go ahead and maybe negotiate something where we can back bill them for that kind of work instead of having our residents sit here for a year in order for the city of Toledo to figure that out? Do you think that's something you could put as a goal?
Sure.
You always try.
Because that was a mess. And we've had a couple of them like that.
Yeah.
So, but thank you for doing that. But I just was thinking that might be something worth looking into. Great job, guys.
I would like to adopt the total budget at the second meeting in December. If that,
Sounds good to me.
Thank you, Jim.
thank you.
I'll offer a motion to adjourn at 3:33.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Conrad?
Yes.